Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Energy Works. I'm Lauren, doing another solo pod. And this kind of dropped in for me last night after I was reviewing in my mind. I just did a podcast about joy and choosing life and the affirmative things that we do to do that. And what really dropped in, what I was thinking about is not quite the opposite of that, but let's just be honest. There is a lot of shit going on in the world right now. A lot. No matter what country you live in, no matter what stripe you are, things are going on and it doesn't feel good. It's uncomfortable. There's a lot of sadness. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of meanness. There's a lot of cruelty, unnecessary cruelty happening in the world right now. We're in a real pressure cooker. And so the last podcast I did was about, well, so how do we affirm that we have joy and hope and love to move forward? Because I think that's really important. And it's also really important to acknowledge what is going on and the challenges and the difficulties that we are in day to day. And the overwhelming grief and sadness that seeing what is happening in the world brings on. For me, it makes me so sad. I've talked before about being a wood and how anger is my first emotion for things. And I definitely get angry when I see here's just the truth of my truth. It is such an unbelievable waste of time what we are doing. Waste of time and waste of energy. All of this fighting, this killing, this of humans, of animals, of the planet itself. It is just unnecessary. It's just boring. It's boring, unnecessary, stupid waste of time. What an unbelievable world we could have if we worked together, if we overcame our limitations, to put it nicely, so that we could let go of our anger, let go of our trauma that causes us to be so cruel in the world. Okay, so what do we do? What do we do with all of that angst, all of that just bubbling up energy, emotional energy? My teacher, Donna Eden, has shared this with me and with many other people before, that she cries every day. Every day she cries. And I really think about that because it's such a beautiful thing. It's a mechanism that the body naturally does to release fear, to release sadness, to release grief. And it's this cleansing, rejuvenating, it's like a rainstorm moving through. And oftentimes we inhibit ourselves from crying. We don't want to dive into the well of our grief because we feel like we'll never come out of it again. But the truth is, the more that you resist your emotions, the more that they fester under the surface and they still affect you. They just do it in an unconscious way, which is a lot of what we're seeing in the world right now. There's a lot of unconscious behavior out there. People aren't really processing what they feel and they're externalizing it. So it's important that we feel our feels. And it's really a beautiful thing to cry, to acknowledge the grief, to acknowledge the sadness, and then to have this physiological response to all of that and allowing that energy to flow out of the body so that you don't feel so stuck. And so if you don't let that grief and sadness out, it turns inward and becomes depression, which a lot of us are feeling right now, just depressed at the state of the world. Like, why are our leaders just so stupid? Really, just so egocentrically horrible? Almost every leader in the world. There's a few good ones, but they're not jumping to mind right now because the overwhelmingness of the bad always takes center stage. And that can happen with us too, because we are just a microcosm of what's going on in the world. So our sadness, if we don't let it out, if we don't cry, it really can turn inward on us and not become a good thing. And so I was thinking about that as well, how I have been inhibiting my own tears. Because when you cry, especially if you're around other people, they can get all triggered and uncomfortable around that because of this mirror neuron activity that we have going on that we can latch onto. When we see somebody else feeling emotional, we start to feel that same emotion. That's a really beautiful thing. It leads us to compassion and it leads us to acts of kindness, but it can also make us uncomfortable if those emotions are uncomfortable emotions. And I've been noticing that I have been inhibiting my own daily waterworks of crying because of just that thing that I mentioned, that I don't want to go down into the well of grief. It's so deep and intense, even though I know that it's not that deep and intense and that it really can free you. I also can get stuck in that. I don't want to cry. I don't want to be sad. But yet the sadness is there. Again, on the last podcast, I mentioned that my beloved familiar, Louis, died this January. And if I think about him, like even now, I can feel it's coming up. If I think about him, I can just get so sad. I miss him so much. It's so horrible that he's not here anymore. And sometimes I'll back away from thinking about him because it's like, I just can't. I just don't want to cry today. But the truth is, it's a really beautiful, honoring, freeing thing to cry. And it made me started thinking of, I don't know if any of you remember Free to Be You and Me. If you don't remember it, or if you didn't grow up with it, or if you have kids now and it's not in your wheelhouse, check it out. It's such a beautiful teaching that I still lean into today. And the song, It's All Right to Cry, Rosie Greer sang it. He's this huge, big pro football player. And he's teaching us all that it's all right to cry. And he says it, it's all right to cry. Crying takes the sad out of you. It's all right to cry. You might even feel better. If you haven't ever listened to Free to Be You and Me, it's long overdue that it enters your life. And I just want to add into that it's all right to cry, and it feels really good. It does make you feel better. And so I want to give you a couple of energy techniques that you can use to help you when that crying comes up and you're resisting it and you really want to let yourself flow into it. Just bring a hand to the low back of your skull and then one hand to the front of the forehead. You can just hold here and let the feelings just come out. It's okay. Let yourself cry. Let yourself feel the sadness. And if you're holding these points, it won't let you go into that full meltdown of, I'll never get out of this. I'll just be sobbing forever. It will let you cry. And then, like the rainstorm that flows through, it really does pass through. The rainstorms, I was at a dinner the other night in the mountains, and this huge thunder and lightning in the sky just opened up. It was amazing. And we were in a roundhouse with a big circular, I guess it was a window at the very top where all the house all came together. And so you could see the rain just pounding on the roof, and it was just amazing. And then when we left, it had all stopped, and the ground was just moist and smelled so good, and it had passed. So it had done exactly what a sobbing fest does for you. It clears everything out, and it feels so good after. And then here's something else that you can do that is something I often do actually while I'm crying. Rub your hands together, shake them off, and then cup your hands over the eye sockets. It's a technique called palming, P-A-L-M, palming. And it does so many things. It's really good for your eyes. It's good for tension. It's good for relaxation. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't go back to sleep, it just does so many things. But one of the things that you can do if you're holding your hands over your eyes and the fingers are on the forehead here while you're crying is a really beautiful time to start to envision the better future, the hope that you have, the desires that you have. What can you see in the future that can bring the next consequence of your tears, which comes into your calm, your peace, your standing tall in your own truth, your gratitude, and then your joy and your love for life. So while you're crying, you can have your hands over your eyes and over your forehead and envision, what is the world that you want to live in? And how can you contribute to that world that you want to see? And I truly feel that releasing your own emotions and having a relationship with your emotions so that they don't sideswipe you and go underground and unconscious, and then you start to act out in all kinds of ways that are not healthy, that are not in alignment probably with your deeper, higher self. And so the more that you have this relationship with your emotions, the more that you have mastery over your own life, your own actions, because it is by our actions in the world that we create our lives. And so this palming is a way for you to envision and imagine. It's almost like a rehearsal for how you want to be in the world, and also a rehearsal for how you want the world to be. So thank you for tuning in. This is a short podcast. I just wanted to jump in there and share Rosie Greer's message with you and share my message with you that, you know, this is a really difficult, challenging time in humanity that I think we're going to look back on and just with wonder, like, how did this all happen this way? And it's a time where there's a lot of tears that really need to be shed because there's a lot to be sad about. And once we feel that sadness and we can let it go, then we can discern what are the right actions to take so that we can turn this world from a sad, grief-full world to a joyful, beautiful place where everyone has their needs met. Creativity is blooming like the wildflowers that bloom all over the mountains. And we can have a world where we're all welcome and we're all accepted. We're all thriving. That's my dream. And when that's not happening, that's why I cry. And then once the sobbing is done, I pick myself up and I shake myself off and I say to myself, self, what can we do right now to help the world become a better place? Sometimes that's planting a tree, like we talked about in the last podcast. I'd love to hear your thoughts on crying, on picking yourself up, and on moving forward. We really need each other in these times right now. We need our communities. We need to be stronger and stronger together so that we can overcome any obstacles that are trying to tear us apart. So there it is. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.